it, Joe. You're going to be the next president of the United States.
It's over. Joe Biden will be the 46th president of the United States of America. It is time, he says, to unite and to heal. Donald Trump, who's playing golf, still refuses to concede. Good afternoon once again from the White House, but on a very different kind of day, where this unprecedented, this historic election has finally delivered a winner, as the state of Pennsylvania propelled Joe Biden over the 270 electoral college votes that he needed. It means that he will become the 46th president-elect of the United States, and for the first time, a female vice president and woman of color will be at his side. The loser, Donald Trump, becomes a one-term president, though this is a status that he continues to fight. During his 4 years in office, he proved to be the most divisive president since Nixon, as well as one of the least predictable and the first to proclaim policy via Twitter. President-elect Biden is expected to speak later today, but he tweeted, "I'm honored you have chosen me to lead our great country. I will be a president for all Americans, whether you voted for me or not." Just minutes before the result, Mr. Trump was busy tweeting that he'd won the election by a lot in his trademark capital letters. He's still declaring the contest is far from over. His lawyers are still trying to contest the count. But Mr. Trump received the news that he had feared most as he was heading for a bunker on his favorite Virginia golf course. I promise you this, I will be a president for all Americans, whether you voted for me or not. Joe Biden has given his first reaction to his election victory tonight, declaring it is time to get past the anger and the harsh rhetoric, to unite and to heal. A message which Donald Trump does not appear to be taking on board, threatening to launch more legal action beginning on Monday. This is how it finally happened after 4 long days and nights of limbo. Just over 2 hours ago, the state of Pennsylvania was called for Mr. Biden. It's 20 electoral college votes, giving him the majority that he needed. Listen to the crowd around us here. Our Washington correspondent, Siobhan Kennedy, has this report.
After 4 long, tense days, we've reached a historic moment in this election. We can now project the winner of the presidential race.
After a fresh batch of results gave Joe Biden an untouchable lead in the key battleground of Pennsylvania, CNN became the first U.S. network at 11:23 a.m. to call the 2020 election.
Second term. We're able to make this projection because CNN projects Biden wins Pennsylvania.
One of its commentators moved to tears at the news.
Well, it's easier to be a parent this morning. It's easier to be a dad. It's easier to tell your kids character matters. It matters.
The other networks quickly followed.
Okay, we have an announcement to make. Joe Biden is president-elect.
The Fox News decision desk can now project that former Vice President Joe Biden will win Pennsylvania and Nevada, putting him over the 270 electoral votes he needs to become the 46th president of the United States.
Best day ever.
Celebration broke out across the country, no more so than in front of the White House.
Today, oh my God, seriously. Oh, thank you.
People who may have thought that America had lost its way, we're back. Feels absolutely unbelievable.
Best feeling I've had in my life.
So many of us worked so hard for so long to make sure that this republic actually survives, because if we had lost this, it wouldn't have survived.
Not only is Joe Biden the oldest person ever to become president, history is made with the selection of his vice president, Kamala Harris, who becomes the first woman and the first black woman to win the office. The moment of realization captured on Twitter.
We did it, Joe. You're going to be the next president of the United States.
On news that he would become America's 46th president, Joe Biden tweeted, "America, I am honored that you have chosen me to lead our great country. The work ahead of us will be hard, but I promise you this, I will be a president for all Americans, whether you voted for me or not. I will keep the faith that you have placed in me. Donald Trump, who spent the majority of the week holed up inside the White House, ventured out this morning to play golf, unaware that his presidency was about to come to an end. In a statement issued by his campaign, Mr. Trump insisted, though, that the election was far from over and said he wouldn't rest until the American people have the honest vote count they deserve. But Americans celebrating across the country felt they had been given exactly that, a vote count that's delivered a result in the 2020 election and Joe Biden as their new president-elect.
Siobhan Kennedy. Now, let me tell you, I've covered 7 American presidential elections. I have never seen anything like this. There are tens of thousands of people, perhaps even more, converging from all over Washington to this place here, 16th Street, right in front of the White House. This place is absolutely full. Now, even after Obama was elected in 2008 for the first time, you didn't see crowds like this. This feels more like the end of a regime than the end of a democratically elected government. The sense of collective relief here is quite extraordinary. You don't find many Trump supporters in Washington anyway. This is a heavily democratic city, and I'm sure there are scenes around this country that are remarkably different to what you see right now and right here. But this is important. This will create a fact which the president will have to respond to at some stage later today. It'll be fascinating to see exactly how. Now, let's go to Pennsylvania. It is the 3rd time lucky here for Joe Biden in his bid for the White House. His supporters, as you can see, have rushed out onto the streets, not just in this city, but also in many other cities as well. And Mr. Biden himself is expected to give an address in Wilmington, Delaware. That's where he's living, later today at some stage. And there we find our international editor, Lindsay Hilsum. Over to you, Lindsay.
Matt, it was here in the historic city of Philadelphia, the votes here that pushed Biden over the edge to victory. People are gathered in great excitement behind me in front of Independence Hall. That is where the Constitution was signed. It was where the Declaration of Independence was signed. And many here would see this as another day in history. Not so much because Joe Biden won, but because Donald Trump lost. The question is, was Donald Trump an aberration in American history or a product of it? Now, that is something that historians are going to be discussing for decades to come. But now, today, is Joe Biden's day. Sometimes you just have to dance in the street and celebrate an end, at last, to this seemingly endless election. And for Biden supporters, so much more. The crowd's getting bigger and people are getting more excited. For many of these people, it's not just that Joe Biden, their man, is now going to be in power. They say it's an end to 4 years of nightmare.
I'm really happy that half the country will no longer accept racism and bigotry and no more years of this. I feel as if my children and my grandson have a future now in the United States. Love and peace wins. I feel amazing. Unbelievable. I'm really happy. Yeah.
But on the less sunny side of the street, others are not so thrilled. President Trump is not the only one who finds it hard to concede with good grace. And there's a little triumphalism. In Biden's hometown of Wilmington last night, his supporters were readying for victory.
We got in the car 20 minutes ago and raced down here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if we don't see him, to be in the moment, to be in the spot, to be here, to say, yeah, this is history. We want to be part of it however we can. We've been watching TV for 5 days.
Stop the steal! Stop the steal!
At one point, a handful of Trump supporters marched around the car park like noisy ghosts from another time.
Police officer! She's stealing from us! She's trying to steal!
This was what the people were waiting for, the arrival of their man.
We've rebuilt the blue wall.
Distanced because of COVID from the stage where he was speaking, this was probably the most difficult place in the country from which to actually hear what he was saying.
The purpose of our politics is in total, unrelenting,
unending warfare. No, the purpose of our politics, the work of the nation, isn't to fan the flames of conflict, but to solve problems, to guarantee justice. We may be opponents, but we're not enemies.
I think it was a speech of a statesman. He was trying to unify the country and put the minds of everybody, whether you're Republican or Democrat, at ease.
Biden was clear about the priorities ahead.
Yesterday, Senator Harris and I held meetings with groups of experts on public health and the economic crisis this country is facing. We want everyone to know on day one, we're going to put our plan to control this virus into action.
The fact that they're already taking steps to prepare for their win because they're confident that they're going to win, and they're reaching out to experts speaks volumes of the difference between his campaign versus the campaign of President Trump.
Last night's confidence has given way to today's triumph and the difficult task of reuniting this polarized country.
Lindsay Hilson reporting from Wilmington, Delaware. Now, Donald Trump received the news that he really didn't want to hear when he was in the bunker. And I'm not talking about the building behind me, I'm talking about the bunker on his favorite golf course in Virginia. Let's go to Siobhan Kennedy now. Siobhan, what's the reaction been from the White House?
Well, you can imagine Donald Trump is not taking this on the chin. Worth remembering how we got here, of course, that Joe Biden managed to secure 279 of those electoral college votes, taking him over the total that he needed, 270 versus Donald Trump's 214. And of course, that tally could rise substantially if Mr. Biden manages to secure Georgia and Arizona and Nevada, which is not beyond belief. That could happen today or over the weekend. Ordinarily, what we would expect now is a gracious concession speech from the incumbent, but I think we all know that that is not what we are going to get from Donald Trump. He's issued just this one rather long, rambling statement today where he has said that the election has not in any way been decided, that Joe Biden has not been certified as the winner of any states, let alone the highly contested states headed for mandatory recounts. And he says that beginning Monday, Matt, our campaign will start prosecuting our case in court to ensure election laws are fully upheld and the rightful winner is elected. Well, of course, millions of Americans believe that the rightful winner has been elected. It is worth dwelling on this one fact, though, Matt, that over 70 million Americans have voted for Donald Trump. So I think the sense that America will remain as polarized as ever will certainly continue.